Speaking through the gray. Speaking through the gray. Speaking through the gray. How did it happen?
What's up, guys? I'm Dan.
And I'm Jasmine.
Welcome back to Speaking Through the Gray. This is episode number 3. We're going to be talking about being a Christian entrepreneur. So we're super excited. The first time we are going to be having a guest on the show. We have the bass player of Toothless, the drummer of So Much Hope Buried, the co-host of Mixing Mindset podcast, and the owner and engineer of Novro Studios. We have with us our good friend, Eric Novroski. There it is. Heck
Yeah, applause. Everybody cheer for me. Dan, Jasmine, thank you so much
Yeah,
for having me
definitely.
on. I'm so excited. This is amazing.
Yes,
This
welcome to
place
our abode.
is beautiful.
Thank you.
It looks
Thank you.
amazing, and it looks so much more official than Mixing Mindsets because we don't even have a look.
Yeah. Well, no, the studio looks
We're
dope,
strictly,
though. I mean,
yeah, but we're
does.
you've
strictly
got
audio.
the studio ambiance and everything. But yeah, dude, so we're super excited. And like, obviously the name of the podcast, Speaking Through the Gray, we want to get into the gray areas, the certain areas that are, sometimes difficult to talk about or things just people don't talk about in general.
Yeah.
So the first thing we want to get into is the difference between a Christian business and a business owned by a Christian. And
For
before
sure.
I have you go into that, there's actually, don't quote me on it because I don't know if it's true, but I've heard the story before. Yeah, so nobody try to sue me. So you remember the Christian bookstores back in the day that used to be everywhere?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you remember Testaments?
No.
They were the candy. They were a candy called Testaments.
I don't.
So apparently, it was this Christian company that would sell mints with Bible verses on it.
Okay.
And apparently the company wasn't even owned by a Christian. He just knew Christians were easy to sell crap to. And I was like, it's kind of funny because you think about it, it's just like, just because it is a Christian company doesn't mean anything when
Right.
it comes down to it. So,
Right.
But yeah, your thoughts on that as far as the difference between a Christian business and a business owned by a Christian?
My thoughts on that specific example or my thoughts on my business?
Your thoughts on general about business and being a Christian and the fact that
yours.
you own a company, you own a business. Yeah.
So my company I would definitely classify as like a Christian run organization, but not a Christian organization.
Yeah.
I run this company with my wife, Sarah. And
Shout out to Sarah.
yeah, shout out Sarah. She's awesome. She does great work. But with this business, I think it would be actually foolish and not helpful to God's kingdom if we were a Christian business. And Sarah and I talk about this a lot, where it's like God calls us to be out in the world, not of the world, but out in the world. And it would, like I said, it would be a disservice because think of all the people that you would end up turning down.
Yeah.
All those conversations that you could possibly have. So, like I sit in a room with somebody for 8-10 hours. I mean, I've done 16 hours straight with some people, and it's gonna, it develops relationships and it develops conversations.
Yeah.
And no matter what, it almost always divulges at some point to some sort of religious relationship conversation, because that's just what humans
Nice.
do. We end up getting there. And I was like, somebody asked me that. They're like, well, like, how do you navigate doing artists that aren't Christians or saying things that you don't agree with? I'm like, yeah, I don't agree with it. And I understand, like, I'm helping them create this art or whatever in this message. But one, I don't think anybody looks at me and says, oh, the engineer behind this is definitely believing whatever this guy is saying. Like, nobody thinks that.
Yeah.
So I don't think that I'm portraying it that way. But also, like I said, you get 8 hours in a day and you do multiple days in a row. That person develops a relationship with you. They develop conversations with you. And man, that furthers the kingdom of God way more than if I was just like, I only work with Christian artists.
Yeah.
That's like being in a bubble.
Yeah.
And I don't think God wants us to be in that bubble.
Yeah.
Like it's cool to retreat sometimes to your bubble.
Yeah.
And, and to like hang out with people like you guys and other Christians, where it's like, we can share that similar experience. I don't think it's right to stay there.
Yeah.
You know, it should be, you should be going out. You should be developing relationships with people. You should be showing people that, hey, like Christians do suck sometimes, but not all the time.
Yeah.
You know,
Only
see
about
the light
50%.
in you.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like I a lot of times I end up talking with people and they're like, oh, you don't seem like a Christian. And I'm like, that breaks my heart because I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're saying, like, I know the people that you've met. I know the people that you're talking to about, you know, who you define as Christians. And that sucks.
Yeah.
You know, because not everybody is like that. And I think more importantly, God isn't like that. And that's not what God says to do. You know, and a lot of times I'll bring it back to them and I say, well, you know, hear me out on this. If you have a person who is following Christianity, they are not going to be perfect and they're going to make mistakes. But also, you know, if you have someone on the flip side who doesn't follow Christianity and then came to you and said, I'm a Christian, and, you know, especially like you guys who are Christians, you're going to look at that and go, probably not by the way that you're living, you know, and I think just because the person is living in a certain way doesn't mean that is what the religion is teaching. If I went out right now and said, hey, everyone, I'm a Buddhist, everyone would look at me and go, no, probably you're not. And it's like, well, just because I called myself that, therefore I am. And it's like, well, no, you're not acting that way. And you don't live that way.
Yeah.
So when people are saying, I'm a Christian, it's like, you're not really acting that way.
Yeah.
And that's not what the whole ethos is. That's not what the principle of Christianity is. So you can't judge Christianity on the way that somebody is acting or saying, you know, and how many people, how many, like, do you know who are just like, yeah, I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and like they don't think
It's
about it,
like-
they don't go into it, whatever. And I was like, but a lot of people look at that and they go, well, that guy sucks, and he says he's a Christian, therefore Christianity sucks.
Yep.
It's like, well, no,
Yeah.
you know, like, unfortunately, that guy might suck.
Yeah. He might just be a terrible person.
You know, and just because he calls himself a Christian doesn't mean he's following Christian principles.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't mean he's following biblical principles. He's not doing what God is saying to do. So I challenge people on that, and I say, like, hey, don't judge God based off of us.
Yeah.
You know, even me, you know, like I try to live my best Christian life as I possibly can, but don't judge God based off of what I do.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, you know, so when it comes to like running the business, like to me, it's like, I don't like, you know, if you're a church, you're a Christian organization, you know, and like, I don't necessarily like, I don't think that the business is like what I do, you know, from like a record producer, or a lot of people should necessarily be Christian, quote unquote, organizations. I think you should be Christians in the world showing God's love to somebody, but not being like, I'm only going to work with Christians because I don't know. That doesn't do anything to help the world. That doesn't do anything to help, you know, you know, like you should, like, you know, I think God calls you to go out there and do, you know, and be a good witness and to show God's love for not only the other person, but for you. It's healthy for you to act on those principles that God tells you to do, you know, and some people neglect that. Like, I'm not just out there being like, I'm doing this for you because you need this. It's like, no, I need this too. You know, I need to be out there showing God's love. I need to practice those principles, because without practice, you're doing nothing.
Yeah.
You know? So like, yeah, I definitely think like in this world, like you should be Christians in business, not Christian businesses.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just me.
And I think a lot of Christians have secular jobs, so we have to really show our light everywhere we go.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what we're taught in church. You got your fruits of the Spirit, you got it on you, and you go out into the world and you teach.
100%. Like that's totally the way it should be.
Yeah.
Because that person is never going to reach, you know, the guy who's coming to me to make a metal record probably is not going to reach, you know, like a person like me very, very often or whatever in a world that they live in. And I say metal, but it's really everywhere. I mean, you know, I make a joke about metal, but like, honestly, like, you know, I know a lot of people who are very far from God and want to be very far from God who don't like metal at all.
Yeah.
But like it's those people and those relationships and opportunities that you should be building, whether you're a business owner or you're working for somebody or whatever, like that's just what you should be doing. You should be Christians in the world, not of the world.
Yeah.
Well,
I feel like you see it a lot more now that like there's a lot more pastors that are like bivocational like myself. And I think in some ways it's a whole different spectrum of like how you reach people.
Right.
Because obviously your time is a little bit more limited, but it makes it more real. And I tell my church all the time, I'll be like, hey, like I'm really bad at like losing my crap at work. And like, and I'll let people know like, it's hard because if you're in like just like your Christian bubble or an echo chamber, it's easier to like, there's still ways you can trip up and not represent Christ correctly. But I feel like it puts it so much more into the realm of like, is your faith real when I put you in this environment, So like, I know for me, like every day is like, God is beyond like showing me like, hey, is it real? Like, like it is, but man, I need your help.
Well, and that's like, rough. When I get in these conversations with my clients, a lot of people, say, well, you grew up in the church and therefore like you're just indoctrinated and you're a Christian because of this. And it's like, well, no, like, at one point in my life, probably like I probably was just like, this is just like the way that I grew up and this is just the way that I think. And like, I went to Christian camp a lot and whatnot, but really there was that point where my beliefs started to be challenged. And I think that needs to happen all the time. Your beliefs should be challenged because you will never truthfully know if you're not questioned on it.
Yeah.
If somebody, if somebody says to you, Dan, do you believe in God? And you're like, yeah. And they're like, well, are you sure? And you're like, well, I don't know, maybe. Well, it's like, well, like what kind of faith is that?
Yeah.
Like that should be like, you should have someone coming up to you and being like, hey, do you believe in God? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. Well, I don't believe that God is real and God isn't real. That's fine, dude. Like you believe what you want to believe, but I still am so strong in my faith. And that goes for way more than just faith. I mean, I have conversations with people all the time about like careers and whatnot. And it's like, I want to do this. Are you sure? Well, I don't know. And it's like, okay, well, that's what you need to figure out. Like a lot of people in my life, and I've gone through it myself, where it was, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to do with my life. And a lot of times, you get questioned on that, and you're like, well, I think I want to do this. And when someone's like questioning you, and you're starting to rethink immediately just after a question, like you don't know yet, and you really need to, you really need to work at that. You need to be like, this is what I want to do. And when someone asks me, are you sure? You say, absolutely, without a doubt. So like, I kind of went off on a whole other tangent.
No,
there,
you're
but
good.
Like,
I don't know. I think God might be calling you to be a pastor after this conversation. I'm like, dang, dude, you're preaching harder than I do sometimes. I'll be honest. Like, whoa.
I'm going to start screaming.
But yeah,
altar. Can we do an altar call?
Yeah, altar call with just the three of us.
If you want to come to the Lord,
if you're watching online right now. But yeah, though that there's so much good in that. And what was the last part we were just talking about though? As far as like just like making sure it's real, like knowing what I feel like. There's so many people, like you see when people go to college, like generally the statistic is like somewhere between 40 and like 55% of people like drop out.
Yeah.
And if not, like how many times they change their majors and this and that. And it's like, I get it. You're young, you're still pretty stupid and you're trying to figure your stuff out.
That was definitely
a lot of money
in college.
Oh yeah.
It was definitely me in college.
Oh, dude,
stupid.
Yeah, I know. I had to pay. I just paid off my student loans from going for 2 years of Bible college and dropping out, and that was like over 10 years ago.
That's a whole other side note. Why are we pushing 18-year-olds to go to college? I didn't know nothing when I was 18.
Seriously.
Anyways,
it's like you can't get a small business loan, but you can sign up for a lifetime of debt. Congratulations.
$120,000.
But yeah, like it makes me think like, cause obviously we look at that like 18, 19, 20-year-olds and that mindset of like, oh, I want to do this. But I think that we live in a culture that is like such a TikTok mindset where it's just like such short attention spans. I want to do this.
That's me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. But like, and even myself, like I know with ADHD, like personally, the more I study and understand the ins and outs of it, like there's this podcast, Huberman something or another. He's like a neuroscientist.
Sure.
And he talked about how people with ADHD, they get like super fixated on something.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, before I even started this, I was like, all right, am I sure? Am I sure? Am I sure? But like, I know what ADHD or not, like I feel like so many people, they just go from the next thing to the next thing to the next thing. It's just like, you know, you need to like focus in, like, you know, and whether that's your career or relationships or different things like that. But like
spirituality
you said,
with God.
Yeah, your foundational being of like who you are.
Yeah.
Because like all those other things come from that. Like how I pursue a career and what I'm going for, if my faith is my foundation, will dictate and empower me in that direction, or my relationships or anything.
Dude,
it should be the foundation.
People will talk to me sometimes about my relationship with Sarah, my wife. And, you know, me and Sarah, we have an extremely healthy relationship. I absolutely love our marriage. And no matter what happens within either finances or whatever else you can possibly imagine that causes stress in marriages, like we're extremely solid. And a lot of people, they'll notice it, especially even from an outside perspective, and they'll ask, and they'll be like, how you're just so lucky to find this relationship. And I was like, I'm gonna be totally honest with you. I'll give you the answer. You're not gonna want to hear it. Yeah. It's our relationship is the foundation of our relationship is Christ.
Yeah.
Period.
Same.
Every single day, we choose to follow Christ. We choose to love each other like Christ. We choose to follow these biblical principles. And man, like you get the eye roll, you get the scoff. You're like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry you don't like that answer, but like very real. Like my relationship is super healthy because of that.
Yeah.
Not just, I got so lucky to find like the one person.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily believe in that. Neither does Sarah.
Yeah.
Like I believe that you can fall in love with a lot of different people and you can build a life with a lot of different people. And, Sarah and I just chose like, we're going to live like Christ. And I couldn't be more grateful for that, but also, I don't want to say it was lucky because I wouldn't, and I know that she wouldn't have settled for someone who didn't put your foundation in Christ,
Same.
Like that just, we never would have been in a marriage that didn't do that.
Yeah, we choose every day to put Christ first or we're just not going to make it.
Yeah. No, honestly.
Otherwise, this would not be working out either.
Yeah, dude, honestly, you have to. You absolutely have to. And I know this is a far cry from business, but
So we're going into the second part of the podcast. This is actually a marriage podcast.
Yeah, marriage
no,
counseling.
It's good.
I think it'd be good at marriage counseling.
Yeah?
I think so.
Yeah?
I think so.
you're good at anything you put your mind to, dude. Like, for real.
Amen, brother.
Yeah.
Dude, I believe dude, that's what I believe a lot for most things in life. Like if you believe it and that you truthfully want it, like the worst thing you can do is tell yourself that like I can't or it's too hard or whatever.
Yeah.
Like throw all that out and start speaking positively and start, this is a lot of what my podcast is about. It's about, me and Andrew. It's about this like don't think that way. Don't, it's about positivity. It's about achieving your goals and whatnot. And like, if you have a goal to have a relationship with your spouse that is good and you need to like repair something, like you need to look at it with positivity no matter what. You need to look at her or him or whoever and be like, I will choose to love this person. I love this person. Like, and like every single day I'll tell Sarah, I'll be like, you're beautiful. Like you look so pretty or something, because like just that affirmation and whatnot. Oh my gosh, this is so far from business. It's not even
Keep
funny.
going.
But at the same time, men, if you're listening, take notes, write them down.
Dan does the same thing.
But
Yeah.
I should probably start receiving it better. I
Thank
should.
you. Thank you. I'll pay you after the show.
yeah. No, but yeah, it's just so much of, like positivity and like with spirituality and whatnot and like God, like you just always have to be like on a positive note. And I realize, I guess to kind of try to tie it back,
If you can.
if you can. No, sort of. I sort of can. Not really to business, but just like in general. When I mentioned earlier about like, hey, I'm out there trying to show God's love not just for you but for me, because it's the healthiest thing. And I look at like biblically, there's so many people. I mean, how many people look at the Bible and they go, "Oh, it's just like a bunch of rules. There's a bunch of set of rules." And I was like, "Yeah, but you don't understand. Like, it's not just like rules that like, oh, you have to follow, and this just sucks that I have to follow it. It's a guideline to be like, hey, if you follow this, your life's gonna be better."
Yeah. Well, it's like the simple stuff where it was like back in the day, it was like wash your hands, like in the Bible, and it was like, yeah, that's how people stopped dying from stupid stuff.
Yeah,
like, there were simple instructions to keep you alive half the time.
But just like either the 10 Commandments or just like like other principles and ways of living. And like I think the one that our culture tells us is so wrong is to live selfishly. Our culture tells you so much like live for yourself, forget everybody else, do what's best for you. And I was like, dude, that makes your life awful. That makes your life suck. Yeah. Dude, I love that thing so much. I love that thing so much.
Ridiculous.
But it doesn't. It makes your life horrible. It doesn't make you happy. Like what truthfully brings happiness is living for other people.
Yeah.
Like 100%. So
have you ever heard of Tony Robbins? You know who that is?
I mean, it sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's like the positivity, like motivational speaker. I was like, dang, like maybe so much hope can like open for him at a conference or something. Like,
you can be a spokesperson for positivity.
I would love that. Except all the So Much Hope lyrics are about like
depression,
struggling with mental health, struggling with mental health. I'm pretty sure a lot of
you guys would get kicked out.
A lot of Derek's lyrics are about like, if he believes in God or not. I think I don't know. I honestly like I'm not the lyricist in the band. I play drums and I engineer. But
sorry, Derek.
No, I should focus more on Derek's lyrics. I should. I mean, they're really good.
Dude,
they're poetic. But I should focus more on the meaning.
I went to his apartment and hung out with him and Melissa about like probably a month or two before the release.
Yeah.
And we listened to it on vinyl. And I was like, and I made him send me the lyrics so I could read them while I was listening to it. I was like, dude,
you should do that.
Be like, you going through it?
You're in the band. You're like, yeah, I know the lyrics more than you do. But
probably.
But it's good, man, dude. There's especially like when you know the ins and outs of like behind what was being written. But
yeah.
But,
Absolutely.
Do you guys like write together separately, music wise? Okay.
Yeah. Musically, we're always together. Oh, not always. Musically, we are together. So like at this point in time, the record is out. So I'll just kind of like really fast go down the list. The first song is just an intro track that we wrote together. The second song was Vacant Home. We wrote it together. The third song was Complacency, which is mostly me. I mostly wrote that. The next song was Lucid, which is mostly Derek. You can tell it's a Derek special.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I think I'm gonna get the order wrong, and that's just gonna break my heart.
I couldn't believe you were doing that.
I know, right? And then there's Fade. Fade was written together. Idle Hands was written together. Worry About Me was mostly Derek, another Derek special. Apparition, which is not on this record, and it's totally off, but was mostly Andrew. Speaking in Poetry was written together. Intercessor, which is a little interlude, was written together, and I'd Be Lying was kind of written mostly me. But yeah, for the most part, it's just kind of together and whatnot.
Yeah,
in a room together, and honestly, I think that develops such an interesting character of sound that we're really lucky that it just flows out, man. It's just like boom.
Yeah.
Like from start to finish, we could write a song really quickly when we put our minds to it.
Yeah.
Obviously we haven't been because everything has been like push the record. And like when we practice, it's like practice the set, rather than just like goofing off. But yeah, lyrically it's mostly Derek. I think Andrew wrote
I was about to ask because I know Andrew has like his vocal parts in it too.
Andrew wrote his parts in Fade. That might be it, and I'm sorry if I get it wrong.
Is that the one that like is like the? It feels like it has a send requesty vibe to it a little bit
because Andrew's singing.
Yeah, well, that's the thing because I'm like listening to it and I was like, this feels like very send request, and then I was like, well, that's because he's the vocalist, but yeah,
100%.
But I love it though. It's good, and I think it adds like that dynamic to it to like
we try to be as dynamic as possible with this album. We are so far from the entrepreneurship and business.
Yeah, no. So
I have another question. I mean, we can move on now.
Yeah, please.
All right. So Dan and I are trying to manage work and family, and it's chaos. Our house is a mess. It is what it is. But how do you manage family, work, and your passions?
I don't.
Okay.
Easy
Sounds
answer.
about right.
So no. It's funny. Like right now, Sarah and I, Elliot is 15 months, almost in a few days, and I mean, you guys have 2 kids. You know it double more than me. I still don't feel like I figured it out.
Oh yeah.
And like
You never really will. But
Yeah, I don't know if I ever will figure it out. And like, this is not to like wish away time, but it does feel like once he's in school, it would be easier to achieve.
Yeah.
Like the work kind of
balance part.
the work balance thing. So right now, as you guys know, but just to any listeners, we both work from home. I have the studio in the backyard. Sarah works in a room. Elliot is extremely clingy to Sarah, and more than likely just from breastfeeding, more than likely just because I'm usually like on a location working, like even though I'm just in the back, like I'm not actively in the home, and she's usually with him 90% of the time. And oh my gosh, Sarah's like, hey, I need to get some video editing done. Can you please watch baby? I said, all right, got it. So right then and there, it's like, okay, I have to handle baby and I can't get any work done. And that's not like being mad about it. It's just the way it is. I can't get work done when I have to watch baby and vice versa. But then we're in the house and she works. Like you've been in our house. It's basically just like one long room. Well, she works in the back of this one long room, and Elliot knows she's there. So the whole time he's just like, mama, mama, mama. And I scream and cry. And I'll be like, buddy, come on, look at daddy. Daddy's right here. Let's play with daddy. And he's just like, he's not interested. But a lot of times, we'll be playing for a very short amount of time. His attention span is
about as long as mine.
Yeah. Honestly, it's
short.
It's impressive. And so I'll play with the ball with him for a few seconds, and then he's immediately like, "Nope, run back to the gate where mom is." I'll be like, "Okay, buddy, like come on, go this way."
Yeah.
So then Sarah kind of feels like if she doesn't have headphones on, then it's like it's really hard to zone in.
Yeah.
Because then you have baby, and when you're not zoned in, it's just naturally less productive.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh. So a lot of times I'll try to bring him back to the studio, but then like baby and studio really doesn't mix super well.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of stuff in there. It's like,
especially that age.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah. So he's running around tearing everything up. And I'm like, oh no, dude, don't do that. So we're still trying to figure out that baby.
Because you guys really are in such a unique situation with everything.
Yeah, it's weird. It's cool. I mean,
it's first time I think I saw a baby on a music video shoot. So
Yeah. Which
was actually a year ago.
Oh my gosh, that was Apparition.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Elliot has already been on multiple shoots.
Yeah. The day of the acoustic show, what was this past Saturday?
Yeah.
I saw on my Facebook memories the pictures from it from a year ago. And
Oh,
I was
yeah,
like,
right.
oh wow, that's already been a year.
Already been a year, which means he would only been 2 months.
Yeah.
You were holding him when he was
I was
only
holding
2
him
months.
Yeah.
Yes, we were shooting.
He was sending me
music
pictures.
video.
It was super cute.
Yeah, he was a little rough in the beginning, but he got cute.
Of course.
Like every baby. Every baby's ugly in the beginning.
How was like the first first 2-3 weeks? Was it like
of his life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, his life or your life.
Wait, the first 2 weeks of his life, I thought mine was going to end.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Well, I was at a diner one time right before Gideon was born, and this guy was like, "Oh, you're having a kid?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Everything everyone's telling you, it's so much worse." And I was like, "God, bro, like, are you serious? Like, that was terrible." And I was like, "I can't be that bad." And I'm like, "Wow, like that sleep deprivation, everything." But like as the kid gets older and everything, you're like, you realize how such a blip in time that is.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Really
I know. And like even watching, so my sister had the thing, oh my gosh, it's a phrase, whatever they call it, the 2 under 2 or whatever.
Oh yeah. That's what we had. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So you guys had that. She had that, and even now, I was just talking to Sarah, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if my sister would want me to say her name, so I'm just going to say X. X is already going to be 1 by the time Christmas comes around. And I'm like, Elliot is 1 now. I'm just like, that's crazy. Like it's going to just rip by.
It goes by fast.
So, but anyway, to tie it back to your question, we still really, really, really struggle trying to figure out like that work-life balance. And a lot of times, like, especially pre-baby, the turnaround for our projects was so much faster. So then we have this internal expectation of just like, okay, I tracked this whole thing. Now I have to mix it. It should take me X amount of time to mix it. And then, weeks goes by and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm still not done.
Yeah. You really have to shift your expectations with children.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And somebody right before we had Elliot told us something amazing. And the woman who said it, she's like, your life doesn't end. Your life is not over. It just slows down a lot. And a lot of people think like counter to that, they'd be like, well, wouldn't it be crazier? Like it would speed up because you have a kid. And it's like, no, like it slows the heck down because all of your time is just like managing, taking care of the baby, and no progress is getting done. It's, so like, I think we're getting better with it as time goes on. He has moments now where he's like I guess a little more independent. So we have this little like playpen thing, and sometimes he'll just like run in it and just like pick up toys and play with it. So right there we're like, oh my gosh, he's
quickly
occupied.
get something done.
He's occupied. I was like, you go on the computer, you start editing, and I'll like go wash dishes or something, so I can just like turn around,
make the most of the time. Go.
Honestly, and like you get so scheduled, and you get. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here. You guys already know. You get so regimented and whatnot because you literally have to, or nothing gets done. And like we don't have a dishwasher either. Which is just the worst.
I'm sorry.
The worst, and it's like if I'm not on top of the dishes all the time, it ends up being like over an hour job.
Hot mess chaos.
Yeah.
We have a dishwasher and we still go through that.
Well, we literally had to get
worse.
it put in our first year we moved in here. I had to have my grandfather come and put
about
one in.
to quit.
Life. I was like, I thought she was about to leave me. I was like, oh,
you better get a dishwasher.
No, honestly, that's like Sarah and I were really praying for this one big project that was being talked about to come through, because if it does, we're gonna eventually be able to get a dishwasher. I hope.
Isn't it funny how your goals are just like, I want to buy a nice car? It's like, dude, dishwasher, bro.
And like when you're a kid and you like get a video game and you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so hyped. That's me with a dishwasher. I'm just like, I can't wait to put a dirty dish in this.
I'm dishwasher rich. Yeah,
dude. Seriously. So like that's. And you know what? That's totally fine. I love it. I love that. Like I love the, some people are like, oh, you're old when you get excited for a dishwasher. But honestly, like pumped. Yeah, dude. Like it's, I don't know. It's the thing that brings me joy, and like I'm excited for it now. So like it's my goal. I'm looking towards that. I'm like, gotta make records. Gotta wash dishes more efficiently.
True.
Perfect.
So like with that, there's just like a lot of chores and stuff that we have to figure out, like the balance of that. Admittedly, I get way more time away from baby to work on what I need to work on. Like I said, most of the time, if I'm on a typical work day, I'm usually with clients. Sarah's typical work day is usually editing. So a lot of times it's like, okay, well, like I literally can't have the baby and I have to go and work with X, Y, or Z. And so, you just have to. And like, we don't get a ton of help with Elliot, and that's no shade to anybody. My mom is like basically full-time with my 2 nieces. And like, my sister and her husband, they work insane jobs with insane hours. So like, I totally get that. So, but it is just what it is. Like we just don't get, and unfortunately Sarah's parents live kind of far away. So it's very difficult to get help with Elliot. So a lot of times it's just, me and Sarah and Elliot taking on the world. So if there's anything that I would try to offer as like a value for anybody, like either in my position or whatnot, it's definitely change your expectations of what it is. Give yourself grace. I know it's so difficult. Like Sarah and I were just doing it today, but like if your house is a mess, sometimes your brain is a mess, and I get that.
Yeah.
But you have to give yourself grace with that. Just be like, okay, it's fine. We'll manage. Like it's okay.
Yeah.
And then it gets so much easier when he sleeps through the night.
Yeah. It's nice, right?
That season.
And you guys are
was
in
hard.
that now?
Yes.
Yeah.
But Elliot is not a great sleeper. It's weird.
Okay.
When he was first born, up into, I kid you not, a year, I would be up 2 to 3 times a night.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And it's like, come on, dude. Like, you got to figure it out. And everybody lied to me. Everybody was like, 4 to 6 months, he'll start sleeping. He'll start
Our
sleeping
kids
through the
did
night.
sleep between like 4 to 6 months. They were good.
Yeah, every
Except for
kid's
the
so
night.
different. Yeah.
Oh, well,
We
I was
really
like,
lucked
I'm
out.
sorry.
I was so happy because Jasmine's done so much with like early childhood education,
Right.
and then like all of her nieces and nephews, which we got like 20 of them at this point
Right.
from her brother and sister. But like getting them on a regiment and a schedule, like the fact that they had like their nap schedule and everything, like in that like first like 2 or 3 years was like,
dude, even now, Elliot doesn't nap. He will nap.
man.
He will nap one time a day, and it's usually around like 10 o'clock. Maybe if I'm holding him, which I know you're whatever not supposed to do, X,
not
Y,
judging
Z,
you.
whatever. I mean, honestly, funny enough, sometimes I'm holding him through his naps because I'm sitting at my desk mixing.
oh yeah,
Because I
Yeah.
was like, well,
multitask.
Get stuff done.
Sarah gets stuff done, and I'm trying to get stuff done
Yeah.
because if we put him in his crib half an hour on the dot without fail, I'm
Sounds
just
about
like,
right.
this is insane. This is insane. And then you're like, all right, well, maybe in a few hours you'll take a second half an hour nap. No.
No.
Yeah,
No,
it's
he's-
done.
I was like, bro, you are the most
the floor
active,
running.
insane child ever. And like, so today I was watching him for most of the day, where the whole thing was just, he got up on the couch and he just ran back and forth and jumped on all the pillows. And that was like hours.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, brother.
Very
I was like, I'm
active.
tired just watching you.
I don't think they get tired.
Yeah, no,
Like
no,
you're not going to sleep
no,
either.
we,
Like
we walked around our neighborhood with him on like a little leash
Yeah.
because you don't want to run into traffic. So like we're like, we'll go walk around the neighborhood, and let's go through our yard, and let's go outside, and let's like run around the couch. And finally, it's so funny because I don't it's like, it feels like he does that as a spite, but like he was sitting in his chair for dinner and he's falling asleep. And I was like, no, you're gonna wait until your bedtime now, big guy, and then you're gonna go.
don't you love when they do that?
But it's funny. On my way here, Sarah calls me and she goes, I got him down in like 5 minutes. She's like, that was the fastest
That's
I've ever got him down.
Dang.
And I was like, hey, good for you. But
It's
like,
like I can finally get work done.
I know. So right now, we're in the phase of like around the year was when Sarah was like, okay, like we're gonna like really slow down on breastfeeding. And that, I mean, like just naturally, like if breastfeeding mothers like are always up every 2 hours anyways. So like we expected that in the beginning, and I was like, yeah, this is hard. But he would like feed throughout the night for most of his life so far. But then I think around a year, she was like, all right, we're done with feeding throughout the night. We're going to spend whatever time we need to spend to be like, okay, buddy. Like Sarah would like lay down next to the crib and like tap on the crib and be like, okay, buddy, like go back to bed, like try to rub his back, whatever. So we had a couple rough nights like that. And then now today was the first day that she's cutting out morning feeds. So like he's only
Takes
gonna
time.
only gonna feed at night, and like I think that worked, and I think that's getting better. And when he does sleep through the night, it's good. So
That's
like
great.
we got him down on the way here. It was like 7:45, right?
Yeah.
And if all goes well, he'll sleep till like 6, and that's great.
Yeah, no, that's
was
great.
like- I was
Gives you
like,
some
that's-
time to yourself
Yeah,
at night.
I was like, that's great.
That's great.
But honestly, that it's funny that time to ourselves is usually on the computer.
yeah.
Like so, like literally last night, it's like 9:30, and I was like, I gotta go back. I gotta get some
Stuff
work done. I
Yep.
gotta get some mixing done. So like I ended up, going back, and like it's funny because there's kind of like a nice vibe sometimes, like where it's like super quiet. It's at night and you're just kind of like mixing by yourself. But I'm also exhausted because I get up at 5 with him sometimes.
Because you've just been going all your life since this kid was born.
Yeah. No, exactly. And like what you said
Feels
before,
like a marathon.
dude, around 3 weeks, I would like dread the nighttime. I'd be like, I don't want to go to sleep because I feel so miserable.
Yeah.
Like just keep waking up and keep waking up.
Yeah, it's like, what's the point if I'm going to be up all night?
There was a fluke one time at like the beginning of his life where he slept 10 hours.
Wow.
And it killed us. Absolutely murdered us. It was probably around like 3 months where we got so used to the regimen of like, every couple hours he's going to wake up and blah, blah, blah. And and the one night I remember we woke up and it was daytime and I was like, what happened?
Yeah.
I was like, where's the baby? Is he okay?
I've done that too.
And he was fine, slept 10 hours. And then that whole day we were just dead.
Yeah.
Just absolutely dead. I was like, oh my gosh, our bodies literally got used to not sleeping. That when we were able to sleep, I felt worse. It's like,
so it's a juggle.
Trying
to manage both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times clients are like, hey, when's my stuff going to get done? When's my stuff going to get done? And because I would foolishly say it's going to take this long.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I shouldn't have I should have been like, honestly, dude, like it's going to take that long when I'm working on it.
Yeah.
But there's literally full days in a row where it's like Sarah's also backed up on projects and her clients are like, when's it going to be done? When's it going to be done? And admittedly, her clients are way more schedule and time oriented than mine. A lot of times with me, they're kind of just starting. Mm-hmm. So the record is like, well, don't sweat getting it done too fast because we can just take what's tracked and we can go shoot the music videos and we can do all the other stuff for it. It's like, I usually have more times, but usually at the end of like the music video cycle is where they're like, hey, when's the video getting done? Because this is going to get released really soon.
Yeah.
Mm.
So for her, she usually has like way like harder, like I need this now kind of deadlines.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it's just like, okay, give me baby because you're going to be on the computer all day, just like busting this out.
But it's good to know that you're working together to make this happen.
Yeah.
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 You got to figure out the ebbs and flows.
Because you could just let it tear you guys apart.
Yeah. Well, I mean, praise God.
Yeah,
exactly. Because honestly, like it's those principles of living selflessly. And like it's easy to look at it and be like, I'm holding this baby and I'm getting nothing done. I'm getting frustrated. I'm getting nothing done. But then you like really have to think about it and be like, but Sarah's getting something done and Sarah's appreciative of this. And like, I need to sacrifice that
giving
to get, to let her get something done. And I mean, ultimately it affects me too, because it's, we run the business together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if it looks bad on her, it just looks bad on both of us, you know? So I guess that's a good motivator.
Yeah.
But like that work, baby, life, whatever balance is hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. And like, I know we want a second one and I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's not yet.
It might be harder.
Not yet. I know.
Maybe.
I was gonna say it's not that bad. And Jasmine's like, run, it's not good.
I don't know about that.
Well, we have like Jasmine's sister has like 4 kids and Jasmine's brother has 5 girls, which is wild.
Girl dad.
I don't know how they get anything. They're machines though. Like they're so organized and everything. I don't know.
I think you have to be.
You have to.
Or you'll just explode.
But like they were like, oh, once you hit 3, it's just like it. You keep adding from there. It's like not that like crazy for the number. And I was just like,
sounds crazy to me.
I was like, yeah, because we've been back and forth. Because everybody in our family has so many kids, and we were just like, we stopped at 2, and everyone's like, oh, when are you gonna?
It's hard to juggle. That's why.
Yeah, it's exhausting. It's exhausting.
100%. Especially like owning your own business too. A lot of times our income is very unpredictable.
Yeah.
And that can be super nerve wracking.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nerve wracking with the baby. And when someone's like, hey, like you're going to have a second one. And I was just like, yeah, eventually. But oh my gosh, like I sure hope this business is doing a whole lot better by then.
Yeah.
And like,
it's hard.
Yeah. So that's definitely a nerve wracking part of having the second one. Cause honestly, like if the business was great and like I didn't have to think about finances, I think I'd be okay. I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be cool with like, all right, like whenever you want to have, whenever you want to have the second one, like I'm good. And like, honestly, neither of us want to have a second one until Elliot's probably like 2 or 3, like 2.5, 3 years old, like going into 3.
Yeah.
But when you think about that, I was like, that ain't that long.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Like 2 to 3 years is really not that long.
And childcare is very expensive.
Yeah. And we definitely, we're trying our best not to do that.
Yeah.
At all. Like I said, we're super lucky to work from home.
Yeah,
both
definitely.
of us. So we do have that on our side.
Mm-hmm.
So there are definitely a lot of positives.
Yeah.
Even though things are frightening, but the Lord tells us don't fear about tomorrow because, today has enough worries of its own.
Yeah. Definitely. So you've been in the music scene for a very long time. What are some gray areas in the music scene? Good, bad, ugly?
Oh my gosh. Gray areas in the music scene. There's a lot of scandals.
Yeah.
I don't know. Gray areas. Okay, well, I guess just like in relation to what I do, I know there's some interesting lyrics that come through. And I typically don't really turn down much. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. But there's definitely been times where, and I'm not going to name anybody, where a band was like literally screaming about like hating God and just like F this and F that. And I was like, oh, I was like, man, this one's hard. This one's hard to mix. This one's hard to get behind. And like, that's definitely a gray area, but then like the whole time you're thinking like, be a positive witness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like show these people that there's positivity, there's love. And I'm sorry that you got hurt by the church, because the church can be pretty brutal sometimes.
Yeah.
Like people suck and people are tough, but God doesn't. And that's not what God tells you to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, so like, okay.
You can sometimes even see that like simplistic like mindset even with like Christian lyrics too.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Every worship song.
It's like, dang, this is just as bad as the other guy. Like,
dude, I like
the other direction.
The only difference is that it's positive.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is like I'm cool.
So you can't knock them. Well, you can still.
Like
no,
I'm cool with that.
I'm very cynical with lyrics.
Bro, you are good. You are good. When there's nothing good in me, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, definitely.
And like honestly, like melody wise, like that's a great song. I love that song. But like,
it's different in worship. Like if everyone's like you worship and then just listening to, you're like, oh,
it's just like wow, you must have spent at least 3 minutes on this. It's just like running through it as the song is playing. But some Christian lyrics are just atrocious. I totally get. There's actually that one song. I love the song itself, like the music about it. But what do they say? Like, when heaven meets earth, like a sloppy white kiss. Dude, I hate it.
What song is that?
How He Loves. Well, and it's funny because
I hate it, but the chorus is phenomenal.
Because there's like a like more like Baptist or Pentecostal version, because the Pentecostal version is sloppy wet kiss, and then the Baptist version is unforeseen
kiss.
Unforeseen kiss.
Yeah, either way, I don't like it.
Either way, you're kissing God.
Dude, either way,
God is kissing you, or you're kissing. Either way, it's a little weird, to be honest. Like
either way,
it's like who wrote that? Somebody who probably says "Daddy God" when they pray.
Daddy God.
I'm sorry, but like, and if you're that person, I'm sorry. Like, but just don't do it. I love you. God loves you, but
but please don't.
Please don't.
He's not up in heaven. Like, call me dad. No, anyway, I'm gonna stop. It's about to get canceled.
Yeah, but honestly, that song is phenomenal. I love that song.
Oh yeah, everything but that one part is a little bit weird.
Melody line, it's great. The chorus is great, but those lyrics.
It takes you back to the good old camp days when we played it constantly, it was good times.
But it's a great chorus.
Yeah, no, seriously. So as we wrap up, just want to touch base with all the things I talked about in the intro. So Toothless, what's going on, you guys?
We've been waiting on someone to finish a record we went to a producer, and the only way I can talk about this sounds negative, and I don't want to come across negative, as you know, like I'm kind of all about positivity.
Yeah.
But there is a person who is working on it who may be taking a little bit longer than we have liked, somewhere around the time of over 2 years.
Because I'm about to say, like, what's been going on? I saw you guys are still playing shows.
Yeah.
Like, are you guys playing like consistently, just not like So Much Hope is kind of like more on the front, or like what's going on?
So like I think things just swap. So like right now, So Much Hope is just we're in the middle of our release.
Yeah.
So like everything is going to be So Much Hope, and when Toothless ends up getting our record back, and we're going to start.
It's a full length.
Yeah, dude. So it was a full length that we started tracking January of 2022.
Oh.
So it is now.
Now, did you track at your place to send it off? Or so you tracked and
yeah. So we went
somebody else is doing
somewhere
all
else.
Of it. Yeah.
For the sake of working with a producer with like writing ideas and just like getting like an outside perspective. And yeah, that was in January of 2022. I don't remember how to play any of the songs, so I have to relearn my own album.
Yeah, that's fun.
But yeah, that's a little unfortunate, but we're just waiting.
And
just whenever it's done, it's done. And then we're gonna shoot some music videos with Sarah, and then we're gonna do the same thing that So Much Hope is doing.
Yeah.
We're gonna do this big release plan, like so on and so forth.
Dang.
So yeah, so
I'm hype on that. I didn't even know there was something coming down the pipeline.
Dude,
that's sick. Because what was your last release? 2021?
2020. Nope.
Oh, 2020.
Nope. Came out in May of 2020.
What was it the one with the? Wasn't there a music video with like a bunch of red strings or something?
No, that was even before that.
Oh,
that was like 2018, 2019. But like, yeah, dude, I don't even know. The time's a blur.
Yeah,
but,
seriously, it is.
Yeah, that was so our release that's out now. That's our latest release, which is in May of 2020. Was called Misinformed, and that's just an EP. It's got 3 songs. The Neighbors, or is it The Neighbors or is it Neighbors? Oh my gosh, I don't even know. I think it's The Neighbors.
Yeah.
And then Grinner, and then a song called Timeline Eroded.
Okay, Grinner. Yeah, that's the one I remember.
Yeah. That one's sick. But so yeah, we're just kind of in limbo, just sort of waiting. Obviously, So Much Hope is in it right now.
Yeah.
We're doing the thing.
Yeah.
And so on the
how's the response been so far? Because it's been less than a week since the album came out.
I think really good.
Yeah.
I think really good.
Yeah.
Spotify, when you do like the Spotify artists, it gets sometimes a little wonky in the beginning, and like things don't catch up, and you don't quite know exactly what is happening, and it says it's live, but it's totally not. Because like it'll say like it's updating in like live numbers, and it'll be like, oh, you have 20 people listening to your song, or to listening right now. It doesn't tell you what song, and it doesn't, it just says like 20 people listening. So then like I know we tested this theory where it was like five of us like all started streaming it at the same time. It was like, it should go up to 25, and then like it'll like drop to 17. I'm like,
like this
all right,
isn't making any sense.
Yeah, unless it's like
does it show
lagged by like an hour?
Does you show you
I don't know.
who's listening to the album and like what countries and everything?
Yeah, it's super vague.
Yeah.
So
are you guys like big in North Korea at all, or
no, not big in North Korea. Unfortunately, I thought
that's oddly specific.
I thought we were gonna kill it in North Korea, to be honest, and we're just.
I was looking forward to the tour. Honestly,
we're just not. Yeah, well, my boy Kim.
Open up for Kim. Anyway, sorry.
Just said we didn't fit the bill.
Yeah.
He decided to go with a different band. But whatever.
Yeah, not enough communism in the lyrics or whatever. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Mixing Mindsets.
Yo.
I know we were talking about a little bit earlier, but you guys are pretty
still
much
doing it.
Yeah. Because you guys are what, 30 episodes in? I think somewhere around there, right, or more?
33.
Yeah,
33, 34, somewhere around there. But yeah, that has taken a shift into audio only, and I think it's actually made the actual content of the listening experience so much better. For anyone watching, my podcast Mixing Mindsets used to be capped at 30 minutes because my camera only shoots 30 minutes, and at one point I got frustrated with that because it always felt like, oh, we're getting in the middle of a conversation, and boom, okay, cut it, we're done.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I don't like this. I want to actually talk with people and like develop more of a relationship. So I was like, Andrew, let's just forget the video. Let's just do audio only. So yeah, so we've been audio only now. So you can see that on Spotify, so on and so forth. There's definitely no structure to that. It's whenever Andrew can get in and whenever we can get a guest on is when we're doing it.
I love how loosey-goosey it is, because when I was on, it was like, so what's the topic? And we were like, humility. It was like, all right, let's talk about it for 20 minutes.
Basically. And like the message is still the same.
Yeah.
The idea is still the same. Like we want to bring our mindsets to the listener, and we want to provide some sort of positivity around it. We want a listener to listen to it and be like, you know what, like I either feel motivated about it, or I feel good about something, or like I want to make a change, or whatever, you know. And then we, you know, the whole mixing of mindsets is we bring like outside perspectives, you know, like you were on the podcast before, to really like hear what they have to say, you know, whether we agree or not. And like a lot of times, like we find common ground and so on and so forth. But yeah, like I want people to listen to it and be like, I want to make a change, or I want to do something better. I feel motivated to just keep going, even if I don't need to make a change necessarily. So that's what that podcast is about. And we had Chris Bohinski from PA Live on it.
Nice.
And coming up, we're gonna have Rachel.
Oh, nice.
Rachel Malik from PA Live on
Chris,
it.
that was the guy that was the picture on Facebook with Gideon, or the
Gideon
thing
gave him
Yes, and actually, I think I think we talked about it. I can't remember. I also saw your children and your parents walking the other day. That's a total side note.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, they're by the Turkey Hill. Anyways.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But yeah. So that one is coming up, and that one's just like whenever it happens, it happens. There's no structure. There's no regimen.
Yeah.
It's just
because that's like we were
is.
like trying to do like, okay, you know, because we had the 2 weeks in a row for our first 2 episodes,
Dude,
and it's just
hard.
like, you know, and that's where I'm like, you know, as long as we try to, you know, keep it semi-consistent.
Yeah, it's a lot of times it's just, I mean, with Andrew living farther away, like he has to drive an hour to get to me.
Yeah.
That consistency is just like almost impossible. I mean, he also has a family. He's a wife and a kid. He's got a job.
Yeah.
He's got the band.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, you know, and the travel time. I mean, he's got two hours worth of travel every time that he wants to come. You know, here and back.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, that's a lot to ask of somebody as well, just to be like, hey, why don't you come over for the podcast real quick? Like, there's no real quick.
And it's
like,
hard when you do the
longer.
virtual stuff. It just doesn't feel as like organic.
We try not to do the virtual. I also don't want to deal with recording a screen and so on and so forth. It's so much easier to just hit record on my desk and just go for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so much going on.
Yeah.
Toothless, so much help mixing mindsets, the studio.
Yeah.
I don't know, baby.
Yeah.
there's just like so much happening.
And you guys are currently, you have openings with the studio and everything. I know you guys are, you know, different. Yeah.
So. Usually weekends book up pretty quick. Everyone's trying to get, you know, the weekend to work for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I don't take a day off. My schedule is super flexible. If you want to book, you can probably book, at the time. And I don't know. Sarah and I are just like in this grind right now. And like, I just think that's where we need to be. We just need to be in a grind. You know, we just need to work when we can, and, you know, nose to the grindstone, and just like, I want to work super hard now so I don't have to work super hard later. And especially now that Elliot has no idea what the heck is going on.
Yeah.
I don't want him to be like, Dad's always gone.
Yeah.
Or Dad's always working on something. Like, I want to be like, you know, work really, really, really hard now and be quote unquote gone or whatever if I have to, because he's, you know, not going to know it as much as like when he's a little kid being like, I want to play with Dad. Well, too bad. You know, Dad's in the back trying to get stuff done. I'm trying to get it where I have a typical day, I guess, where I work like 10 to 6.
Yeah.
And just like do an 8-hour day that way. And if it's past 6, like I'm with my family or whatever. We're not there yet. Like when I work with clients, I work 10 to 6. But my mixing time is just sometimes 9:30 at night. Sometimes, whenever I could possibly get there. Yeah. So we're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Well, it's good to work towards that, because like we try to find the balance. Yeah. And we've been there. We've done it. We've recorded a single. It was amazing. It was a great time.
That was fun.
Yeah. Actually, Eric did most of the instrumentals on it. Fun fact.
Did the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I more than likely told you that it was going to be done in a certain amount of time, and then took longer.
Well, also
we
had
a kid.
Yeah, we also beyond
and we forgot because we have kids.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, that happened.
Yeah, no. Honestly, when you were like, "Oh, dude, it's done," I was like, "Oh yeah, sweet, dope." We did record that. I forgot. Yeah. No, it wasn't that long. But no, it is like, especially like as the kids get older, like I forget, I was doing something. I think, well, I went to Hershey last night to see NF play.
Yeah, I saw your post.
Yeah, oh dude, it was so good. But like, I'll, if I'm like away, like the boys come home from school and they'll be like Gabriel or Gideon like walked into the kitchen and was like, Dad, and I'm like, oh, that just made me so sad. Like, but like that's obviously few and far between. But like, your kids realize like when they're little, it's like they don't fully get it, but like as they get older, like I know my dad was very busy with ministry, but I know that he prioritized the important things, and it's like they see your heart more than anything.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, so. And like they'll feel it now, they'll think and remember it later.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
They're not gonna think Dad's not around. They're just gonna feel.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're not here or whatever. And they're not going to like put it to words and like think about it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was definitely something I want to be really intentional with. I want, I don't want Elliot to feel like, oh, Dad's always in the back or whatever. Fortunately, what's really cool is the studio is soundproofed enough that when I inevitably teach him how to play drums, he could play drums while I'm in my mixing room getting work done.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Oh, perfect. Heck yeah,
dude. He already plays. Sits on my lap.
That's
and
great.
Dude, yeah, I see the videos online all the time. I'm like, dude, that's around.
Awesome. He's so cool, man.
That's sick.
He's a cool little baby.
Word. All right, man. Well, any final thoughts as we wrap this up?
No, just thank you.
Yeah, dude.
I know I kind of went on tangents and whatnot, but like
you're good.
It's kind of the one outlet that I was able to really like dive into like Christ and like my my ethos of living, I guess. Not a lot of people want to ask. And not a lot of people want that deep dive conversation. Yeah. So sometimes, I mean, this is my bubble, this is like, 100%. This is me being like, yes, I'm going to go, share it with friends and talk experience and so on and so forth. And if somebody's listening and like, gets something out of it, like, I think that's awesome. And if somebody's listening to it and be like, yo, God is stupid, please talk to me. Because like, I would love to just know your perspective.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, hitting your table.
No, you're good.
Yeah. Like I love talking to people who have a different perspective. So like, please, if you do,
that's the thing. Like I even with this show, like we're gonna do like different episodes, like with guests and things, and like depending on the episode, like sometimes it'll just be like one of us or whatever. But one of the things I want to do is actually have like invite on an atheist to like come and like just be like, okay, like
I know a lot.
Yeah, okay, we'll just stop by one of your recording sessions and just pluck one out, But I want somebody who's like, like really, educated and stuff, and like, has a good mindset around things like that. Like, and I have a couple people who I've talked to in the past just to be able to be like, I know you don't believe in God, but like, what are the things you see that the church does good and the things they do bad? Like, to have those honest conversations.
And then if you have someone who's like, the church
does
nothing good, then they're like, probably not worth it.
We won't invite them on the pod.
That's going to be a hard episode.
Yeah, they're not going to have a fruitful conversation, unfortunately. Yeah. But honestly, those are a lot of people that I spend a lot of time with. And that's where I try to not necessarily have like a conversation to be like, let's talk about the good and bad things church does, but I just try to like live like Christ and show love and be like, hey, dude, like I'm a Christian, and like we're cool.
Yeah.
We're hanging out. You don't think that I'm a weirdo, I hope.
Yeah.
Probably though.
And like, I mean, it's very obvious, like, I've got Jesus tattooed on my arm, like, it's very obvious like the way that I live my life. So I don't necessarily think it's always necessary to be like, let me tell you about God. Your conversation doesn't have to be sterile or weird like that. Like it could just be like showing somebody that, and especially when you have a lot of time with somebody, and I mean, a lot of times my clients have just like asked, like, "What's up with this?" Yeah, dude, thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Like, this is what's up with this.
Yeah. No, you never realize the small, subtle things that will leave an impact for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Sure. Heck yeah. Well, guys, thank you again for watching. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I almost said of Mixing Mindsets because I was looking at my notes. But yeah, thank you for watching. And make sure to go check out Toothless, So Much Hope Buried, Mixing Mindsets podcast, and Novro Studios if you are looking for a great place to record with just amazing experience. And then also one-stop shop for music videos as well. Make sure to go check them out. And again, thank you so much for listening. You guys have a great day.
Thank you. You're beautiful.